A man gets knocked out cold on his own porch by a small, fast-moving UAP. In Colorado, security footage caught a strange, skinny creature walking around a woman's driveway. No one knows what it was. And a floating, shape-shifting figure was caught on camera in Mexico, gliding across a yard while nearby dogs completely lose it. These are times real aliens were caught on surveillance cameras. Ladies and gents, for the first time on the channel, I believe, we have a mysterious flying object knocking a man out cold right on his front porch. This is one of the wildest clips I've ever seen doing videos like this. So it starts off pretty normal. We have some home security footage capturing a guy walking into his house. About 10 seconds go by though, and then this happens. So did you catch that? We might have to slow this one down so you can see it. So this small glowing object flies across the lawn at crazy speed, zips into the doorway, and then the dude just falls back onto the grass, like totally out cold. The way he just flops back and ragdolls like that, it's insane. If this video is staged, then this guy must be a stuntman or something, because that was a gnarly fall. This happened a couple years ago in La Junta, Colorado, and it's still one of the weirdest pieces of home security footage on the internet. So a woman named Vivian Gomez said that her porch camera picked something up late one night. The next morning, she checked the footage and saw what you're looking at here. Nobody actually knows what it was. Dobby from Harry Potter, maybe, or an alien? Vivian posted the video on Facebook and it exploded. It racked up over 10 million views in less than a week, and soon big news stations were showing up to cover it. Vivian said, "I showed my son and we were both just saying, what the heck is that?" She didn't feel super threatened by whatever the thing was, but she did admit she fixed her screen door after, just to be on the safe side. The creature was never seen again, and Vivian says she still has no idea what she caught on camera. In her own words, the verdict is still out. Some people think aliens are out there somewhere. Others believe they're already here, living among us. And this security footage from Mexico has a lot of people wondering if that might actually be true. The video shows this weird floating thing drifting over some bushes and landing in someone's yard. Then it slowly glides off, up the hill and onto the road, shifting and changing shape as it moves, growing into something that almost kind of looks like a person, maybe? Now, normally you'd think this was just a trick of the camera or some cheap editing, but here's the part that really got people talking. The dogs in the yard saw the whole thing. They absolutely freaked out, barking at it, then just standing there utterly confused. The video blew up on Twitter, or X, and a lot of people in the comments seemed convinced. Nobody's been able to explain what this thing is. Whatever it was though, it definitely shook those dogs. This one's pretty wild. The security camera in Ojai, California caught what looks like a glowing thing hovering right in front of the lens, and just a few minutes later, a glowing orb shoots up into the sky. The footage was shot using infrared, which means even if the UFO was using some kind of cloaking, the camera would have still picked it up. According to Scott C. Waring, a well-known UFO enthusiast and blogger who runs the site UFO Sightings Daily, according to him, the UFO took off into the distance right before sunrise, almost like it was trying to leave before anyone could see it in daylight. The person who captured the video said it happened sometime between 3 and 3:30 a.m. It started with a huge bright flash of light coming from a dried-out riverbed across from their house. Place with no power lines, no street lights, and no electronics nearby. After that flash, this bright bluish white orb just showed up out of nowhere and slowly started rising into the sky. What's interesting is that you can see the first light of sunrise creeping over the horizon, but the orb isn't anywhere near it. The light from the sun and the light from the orb are totally different. The person who posted the video said, "I would really like any information on any reasonable explanations that could explain the phenomena in the video." This one comes from a construction site in Cathedral City, California, back in July of 2018. So a night security guard named Douglas Benfield was on shift when he spotted something weird on one of the monitors. What he saw was a super bright object slowly rising from the construction site, hovering for a second in midair, and then suddenly blasting off at crazy speed. Douglas, who was 48 at the time, said, "I was sitting there and everything just felt weird all of a sudden. Can't really explain." He said out of the corner of his eye he noticed something strange on the monitor. "So I played it back and couldn't believe my eyes. I kept watching it over and over again," he said. Right after that, he recorded the footage straight off the security screen with his phone and texted it to his son, who simply responded with, "WTF is that?" Douglas never showed the clip to anyone else at the time because life got busy, but when he came across it again later, he realized it was just too weird not to show, saying, "I cannot explain what is going on in that video, but it's extremely strange. I've watched it so many times and it still gives me chills." Back in 2018, something strange was caught on camera, but the footage stayed hidden for years. It was finally released to the public in January of 2024. The object was seen flying over a US military base in Iraq and was tracked using military infrared radar. It moved across the base and slowly lowered itself into a nearby body of water. About 17 minutes later, it popped back up and shot off at an unbelievable speed. The Pentagon officially marked it as a UAP, meaning they don't know what it was. One of the strangest things about the object was that it kept changing color. It would go from kind of see-through to solid black. And since the video was filmed using infrared, these color changes actually show that the object's temperature was shifting really fast. It was heating up and cooling down so quickly that the radar struggled to keep up with it. Dr. Matthew Zadegas, a physics professor at the University of Albany, said it was changing temperature faster than any known object. About 3 years ago, some really creepy security camera footage started making the rounds online. We see this weird, pale creature moving around in the backyard of an apartment complex in Moorhead, Kentucky. The video was caught by a CCTV camera in the area. It was first shared by Paranormality magazine on X. In the 33-second clip, you can see this tall, skinny, human-like figure crouching low near the back of the yard. It slowly creeps forward, looking around like it's checking to see if anyone's watching, then heads toward the homeowner's car. The footage blew up online. People from all over the world started guessing what the pale figure could be and where it came from. Some thought it looked like an alien, others said it looked more like a rake. No one's figured out exactly what it was, but what do you think? Just what in the hell is this thing? Now, I don't have a lot of info on this one. I believe the image first showed up on Reddit about a year back. User itchypalp_88 wrote that it was sent to them by their neighbor in Vacaville, California, who'd caught it on their Ring camera at a trailer park backing up to a creek. As for what it is, hairless cat, the chupacabra, an alien, those big black eyes definitely kind of make it look like one. As weird and freaky as this thing is, though, it is oddly cute in a kind of ugly way. You know what I mean. Now, this next one is clearly a drone, but doesn't make the story any less creepy. So about 5 years ago in British Columbia, Canada, a couple had a pretty creepy run-in with what they thought was just a drone, except this one got way too close for comfort. Around 11:30 p.m. on Friday, September 25th, a man named Ryan Frank noticed something weird flying right outside his window. It was a drone actively watching the house. It was next to the car looking in the window and then hovered right in front of me, Ryan said. It came so close to the window at one point it cut the strings on 2 hanging hummingbird feeders. He said the drone hovered outside his house for just under 5 minutes. I threw a beer at it at some point, but I missed, he added. Eventually the drone flew off. The next morning Ryan checked his security footage and showed it to his girlfriend, Shayla Skates. Perfect Canadian name there. Anyway, she'd been asleep when it all happened, and she was pretty freaked out. "I feel violated," she said. "Who knows what this person was recording of me? How many times this drone has been recording my house, me, my child?" Turns out this wasn't an isolated thing. When Shayla posted about it on Facebook, at least half a dozen people commented saying they'd seen similar drones snooping around homes in the area. In fact, just the year before, a woman named Dominique Embury had her own weird encounter. On December 18th of 2019, Dominic saw a small black drone hovering outside her window. Her security footage showed it carefully circling their cars, flying right up to their license plates, then sitting there watching her in the living room for almost 2 minutes before finally flying away. Ryan said the drone he saw was about 12 inches wide and 12 inches deep, with 4 propellers, a battery pack, and a camera strapped to it. This footage was released by the AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, a group inside the US Department of Defense that's specifically in charge of looking into UAPs. The clip was made public during a US Senate hearing and has been part of their official investigation records. It was captured by an MQ-9 Reaper drone, which is a high-tech surveillance drone usually used by the military for tracking and reconnaissance. Clearly, we can see a small, round object flying across the frame. The AARO has confirmed they still don't know what the thing is. They've officially labeled it as a genuine UAP. They also said it's not the first time they've caught orbs like this on camera. There have been other sightings of similar objects, but so far, no one's been able to explain what they are where they come from. Something weird showed up in a zoo's cameras, a creature with 4 legs, wings, and horns that none of the staff could explain. Over in Scotland, a Loch Ness skipper picked up a massive, unidentifiable shape on sonar that left him completely speechless. And in New Jersey, a man snapped a photo of what looked like the legendary Jersey Devil. These are creatures from folklore that were caught on camera. In October of 2024, staff at the Bristol Zoo project were going through footage from their night vision camera traps when they found something really strange. In the middle of Bear Wood, a 7.5-acre enclosure where bears, wolves, wolverines, and lynxes roam, the cameras picked up a strange 4-legged creature. It had what looked like wings and horns. Obviously, none of the zoo's animals matched it. And for weeks, people had been saying something strange was moving between the trees. Even the animals seemed spooked. Wolves and wolverines don't usually pay much attention to the usual wildlife like deer, but this time they did. They seemed spooked by something. Well, they still have no idea what this creature was. Some people think it's just a deer caught in like a weird angle, maybe with motion blur making the ears look kind of like wings, but others think maybe Bristol now has its own local legend. Well, it's not often we get news about Nessie, but here we are. Just back in January, something strange showed up on one of the live webcams overlooking Loch Ness. A regular visitor named Andy caught it moving near the shore, heading towards Sherry Island, then turning around and slipping back out into deeper water before vanishing. He said it was cruising along for a few minutes between 4:41 and 4:48 in the afternoon. Andy's been coming to Loch Ness since the late 80s. He's familiar with the environment and normal wildlife around the loch, but this was something else. The group that runs the webcam, Loch Ness Exploration, said the footage was worth sharing because it wasn't just another random wave or boat ripple. Whatever the thing was, it looked pretty big, and this isn't the first time. In August of 2023, an Irish Nessie fan named Owen O'Fadigan spotted something on a webcam as well. He described seeing a large black hump that popped up, moved across the water, then dipped back under as a boat got close. Owen said fish do not have wakes. The movement was uncharacteristic of a seal or an otter. Only the Loch Ness Monster is the obvious choice. What you're looking at here is a sonar image taken at Loch Ness. On September 22nd, 2024, a skipper named Sean Sloggy was out on Loch Ness doing his usual rounds when something strange popped up on his sonar screen. Sean's been working these waters for years, but he's never seen anything quite like this. The strangeness of it was chilling. It's the sort of thing that leaves you speechless, he said. Sean was with maritime pilot Liam McKenzie that day, just getting ready for another boat to arrive, when the sonar suddenly lit up. There was a massive object sitting about 320 feet down. Sean's used to spotting all kinds of weird fish and shapes on sonar, but this thing was massive. The shape looked long and stretched out, and Sean noticed there were what seemed like air pockets inside, something you wouldn't normally see with regular fish or logs even. They tried to circle back and find it again, but whatever it was had completely disappeared. We're not sonar experts, but I've never seen anything like it, Sean went on to say. In October of 2015, a man named Dave Black was driving near a golf course in Little Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, when he saw something that looked like a deer or maybe a llama walking along, but then it suddenly sprouted wings and flew off into the trees. Dave managed to snap a quick blurry photo on his phone though, and sure enough, there was this dark creature with big wings and what looked like hooves dangling beneath it. Dave had no idea what he was looking at. And when news of the photo came out, he stuck to his story, insisting that he was not trying to mess with anyone. that he really saw it and had no explanation. The photo blew up online and got everyone in New Jersey talking about the Jersey Devil again, a legendary winged creature that's supposedly haunted the Pine Barrens since the 1700s. Back in November of 2007, a Fresno homeowner known only as Jose to the media got spooked by his dogs barking at night, and he checked his security camera footage. He couldn't believe what he was looking at. The video shows this tall, skinny white figure gliding across his lawn, almost like living pants. There's no arms or torso, it's just long legs carrying a rounded quote-unquote head on top. Jose was pretty freaked. He woke his brother, saved the clip by pointing a camcorder at his monitor because the system would overwrite the footage. The story blew up after he shared it with Univision, and paranormal investigators also got involved. Even the History Channel covered it as part of fact or faked paranormal files and called it unexplainable. Then in 2011, similar footage was captured at Yosemite National Park showing two of these things together, one smaller, one larger. No one's ever figured out what they were. They're simply known as Fresno Nightcrawlers. In February of 2012, farmer Hjortur Jerov, I don't know if I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but I couldn't find a video of anyone pronouncing it online. Well, anyway, he's an elderly farmer. He set up a camera by a river feeding Lake Lagerflot in East Iceland. He ended up with some pretty crazy footage that's gone on to become the best possible video evidence of the mythical Icelandic lake monster known as the Langerflot worm. The video shows what looks like a serpentine creature drifting just under the icy water, maybe 30 to 90 feet long. The clip went viral around the world, even prompting a local panel to vote 7-6 that it was real and awarded him with a small cash prize. The Langerflot worm's been part of Icelandic folklore since the 14th century. Said to be this massive lake monster, sometimes said to be longer than a football field. In August of 2023, photographer Shay Kelly dropped a set of images she'd been holding on to since 2018. She and her husband had been having lunch at an inn on Loch Ness when she caught something gliding through the water about 200 meters offshore. Shay said it was moving, quote, right to left at a steady speed, spinning and rolling at times. We never saw a head or neck. After a couple minutes, it just disappeared and we never saw it again, end quote. At first she thought it might be otters or a seal, but it never came up for air again and it just kept moving like a serpent, she continued. Steve Feltham, a well-known Nessie hunter who's been at this for over 30 years, called the photos the most exciting surface shots in decades, saying they are the most compelling surface images of the phenomenon. They still defy explanation. The images show two rounded humps rolling through the water. There's no obvious head or neck, but it definitely doesn't look like otters or divers. Whatever this really was, a Nessie or a massive eel, these are definitely some of the clearest and most intriguing Nessie photos possibly ever. In mid-2023, farmers near Oruro, Bolivia started spotting something weird roaming their fields. One drone video caught this hunched, dark figure standing upright in a crop field. Carlos Flores, who first spotted it in the footage, said, "It is strange. It looks like a dog, but it has a hump further back. Looking at the images, it has the same position as the chupacabra." Well, this creepy drone footage seemed to trigger fears that the legendary goat sucker had struck again, and a lot of that had to do with the timing of this. Farmers in the area had been finding dead livestock drained of their BLOOD. Some of them took to installing floodlights around their ranches, hoping to either scare it off or actually catch it on camera. The footage itself is not super clear. I mean, it's taken from very far away, but you can definitely see this dark, hunched shape in the center of the frame, motionless at first, then shifting, almost like it realizes the drone is watching and scurries away. Imagine strolling on a Long Island beach and finding this thing washed up on the shore. Well, in July of 2008, a woman named Jenna Hewitt and two friends were walking along Ditch Plains Beach in Montauk when they came across this bloated, hairless corpse with a weird beak-like snout and long limbs. Jenna's friend Christina snapped the infamous photo, and the image blew up online within days. People couldn't figure out what it was. Some thought it was some kind of deformed raccoon, maybe a sea turtle without its shell, and of course, some people immediately jumped to secret government experiments. That's because this was pretty close to the old Plum Island Animal Disease Center. Some people were saying that maybe it escaped from some shady lab over there. No one ever officially confirmed what it was. To this day, people still argue about whether it was just a decomposed raccoon or maybe something else. Apparently, this next piece of footage was taken somewhere in Bolivia on April 20th of 2020. The video starts off pretty normal. You see a nice view of the trees, you hear birds in the background, but then you notice it. There's something hovering in the sky. It's not a bird, there's no flapping of wings, plus it's way too big to be a bird anyway. It's certainly not a plane. The object seems to just drift downward, slowly making its way toward the trees before finally vanishing into the tree line. Now, what could it be? A drone? Well, the object is far away, but still pretty easy to make out. This would have to be a pretty sizable drone, right? Well, I don't know. What do you think? Let us know down in the comments. Something with a bulbous head and skinny limbs darted across a woman's yard in Compton. A ghostly shape floated through a backyard hammock and flipped it over, and a group of rafters spotted something upright and covered in hair watching them from the trees. Whatever it was, it definitely wasn't a bear. These are disturbing creatures captured by hidden cameras. So this is pretty nuts. Watch the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So a woman in Compton named Jessica Ortiz caught whatever this was on her doorbell camera. It was around 1 a.m. on June 5th when her Ring cam picked up something weird darting across her porch. It's only in frame for a second or two, but it really does look like a little alien dude. I was like, I'm going crazy. I'm literally going crazy. I'm losing my mind, Jessica said after watching it. She grabbed her son and had him check the footage as well, just to make sure she wasn't imagining things. Going on to say, he sat up on his bed and he played it like 3 times. When he was done on the 3rd one, he was like, Mom, it's an alien, call the police. I was like, I'm not calling the police on an alien, it'd sound crazy, end quote. She called her neighbor though behind the house to ask if anyone had been outside, and no. To make things creepier, Ortiz said that there were loud banging sounds right after the thing ran by. Watch what was captured floating through this person's backyard. Now it definitely looks like smoke at first, but as it moves through the hammock, well, first of all, it completely flips it around, and as it floats across the screen, the vague, formless shape starts to form into what looks like a ghostly entity with its arms stretched out. And it doesn't fade away like smoke would, it comes back, moving in the opposite direction. Watch the top of the screen. So that is pretty weird. This is either some clever VFX work or something that can't be as easily explained. What do you all think? Share your thoughts down below. Next up, we have a new piece of Bigfoot footage for you. On May 24th, a crew from Colorado River Expedition had pulled over on the upper Colorado River for a lunch break when someone shouted, "Bear!" But they quickly realized this wasn't a bear. As lead guide Logan Kirk put it, someone yelled out that they saw a bear, so we started looking at it, and that's when we realized it was something else. It wasn't a bear. It was standing up there on the hillside. It was definitely bipedal, which really stood out to us, end quote. So, here we see this big hairy figure standing upright looking out through the trees. It stands between 2 pines and just stares at the camera, then disappears back into the woods. Now, bears do stand on their hind legs sometimes, but not like this. I'm not going to speak to the validity of this being a Sasquatch or not, but it isn't a bear. Hoax or not a hoax, that's another question, but Kirk isn't done with this yet, saying we're going to go up to see if we can find any evidence of what was going on up there, whether that's footprints or something else. And another recent story out of Colorado, 2 friends hiking in the Rockies may have accidentally snapped a photo of something. A 20-foot tall gray figure clinging to the side of a mountain. Jesse Clausen and Camille Avarella were coming down Long's Peak last year on August 24th when they took a photo of the view, not realizing that there was something lurking in the background. I was shocked to the bone when we were looking at the picture, Clausen said. At the time, they didn't see anything unusual. We didn't take the picture because we saw that thing. We just took it because the mountain range was pretty, she continued. The hike started at 2 a.m. and the photo was taken around 9 a.m., right after they'd reached the summit. We were in full adrenaline mode, so we weren't really paying attention, Clausen explained. Well, weeks later, while showing the photos to family on a big TV screen, Camille's dad spotted something odd. What the hell? That thing is at least 20 foot or so, he said. And Camille was like, should we call the Rangers? It could be a rock, Avarella admitted, but it has all the features of something that is human, Clausen added. But what do you all think? Share your thoughts in the comments. This image was captured by a Reddit user's security camera. WeirdSet2248 writes, "This is a Tapo camera out the back. The edge of it catches the neighbor's garden. I have chickens out back, which is a new addition. My mom wanted to see a pic of them to see if I could keep an eye on them over the camera, and she replied saying, 'What's up with your neighbor's face?' WTF is going on with his face, Skinwalker?" And yeah, there's clearly something off here. The mouth, especially. When I first looked at this post, the face reminded me of something. I just couldn't put my finger on it. But thankfully, a commenter beat me to it, saying it looks like the guy is wearing a Winnie the Pooh mask. Kinda looks like that live-action horror version of Winnie that came out a couple years ago. This piece of footage comes from a CCTV camera in Thailand. Security guards were stunned by this strange object floating through the air. Take a look at this. Now, a lot of people were quick to say this was just a drone, but others have different opinions, including the guards. At one point, the guy filming the footage captured on the CCTV says the word penanggalan. Now, penanggalan is this vampiric creature from Malaysian and Indonesian folklore. By day, she looks like a normal woman, but at night, her head detaches from her body and floats around with her guts still dangling underneath. She flies through the air looking for victims, usually pregnant women, and feeds on them using her long tongue and organs. To keep her body safe while she's out hunting, she hides it somewhere and soaks it in vinegar so that her guts don't swell up. People would hang thorns or broken glass around their homes to snag her when she tried to come in, and if you ever found her empty body while she was out, you could kill her by burning it or stuffing it with sharp objects so she couldn't return to it before sunrise. So yeah, pretty gruesome creature. Luckily though, no reports of people being mauled by a flying head at the time this security footage was taken. This video comes from Reddit user illdisciplined3142, whose motion capture camera caught something really strange in their neighbor's backyard. Take a look at this. So it's not on screen very long, but the figure does appear to have a bit of an odd shape. The Redditor wrote in the description, "The camera was placed towards the back end of the property. Directly in front of the camera is a massive 10,000 plus acre forest, meaning this creature would be walking towards the street from the forest at 2:39 a.m. with zero lights guiding it. The camera began to also pick up strange sounds after it was seen and continued to do so for about 30 seconds before ending. At this point of view, this creature would have to be 9+ feet tall, as the camera is placed about 10 feet up. This is entirely unedited footage. I have absolutely no idea what this could be, and the movement is strangely slow. Rewatching this footage brings me goosebumps of which I never felt before, since this was really close to my house as well. This is also an area that rarely has hunters, as it is a very protected forest. If anyone can attempt to identify what this truly is, it would save me a lot of thoughts. This is a pretty odd video. It comes from Reddit user SoggyGate9281, who asked, "What does everyone think this is? The alarms are being set off because it's picked up motion detection." And I really don't know what to make of it. It seems to me it's just this glowing stick moving across the screen. Then it moves out of frame, but keep your eyes on the walkway at the bottom of the screen. A shadow moves across the frame. So someone or something was definitely outside, but who or what and why? This clip comes from Reddit user 87 Lucas Oliveira, who wrote in the heading, "A video captured by a security camera recorded a humanoid-looking shadow / transparent apparition at the back of the property, moving from left to right, leaving the dogs of the residents very agitated. The recording took place on a farm in El Salvador on February 6th, 2025. So let's take a look at this. Now, it's hard to make out because the figure seems to be semi-translucent, but there's definitely something there. Notice how fast the thing moves too. It doesn't look like someone walking, it looks like something gliding, although, as the Redditor says, it does have a humanoid shape to it. And I love that there are dogs freaking out in this video. It just means it's not a case of a technical issue with the camera. I think this is a pretty strange video, but what do you all think? This Reddit user's grandparents captured something disturbing on their home security camera. Draw Representative 12 shared these images just the other day, along with a brief description. He said that a year or two ago, he was at Thanksgiving dinner, and his grandfather showed him these images on his living room camera. His grandparents don't live with anyone else. There's no little girl in the home, at least not that they know of. So who's walking through the living room here? And just what in the hell is this nightmare fuel standing in the doorway? Draw Representative 12 also said that his grandparents aren't tech savvy enough to hoax something like this. Seems to me there could be someone secretly squatting in the home. Either that or something else was captured on camera here. I'm really not sure which is worse. A man in Gujarat turns a corner and comes face to face with a lion. A trail cam in Florida captures a bizarre cat no one can identify, and in the Appalachians, two horrifying, glowing-eyed humanoid figures crawl past a trail cam. These are more disturbing creatures captured by hidden cameras. So a guy in Gujarat was taking a chill walk after work when he ended up coming face to face with one of the last things you'd ever want to come face to face with, if you're a sane person that is, a lion. And thankfully the whole thing was caught on CCTV for us to enjoy. So the video was shared by retired Indian Forest Service officer Susanta Nanda. In the clip you see this cement factory worker strolling along with his hands behind his back, not expecting to deal with a lion. What he doesn't know is that a lion is coming from the other direction, also minding its own business. The two can't see each other at first because there's a house between them, so they just keep walking toward the same corner, and then boom, they turn the corner at the same time, lock eyes. I bet this dude's life was flashing before his eyes, but luckily in that split second, both of them freak out. The man spins around, takes off one way, and the lion runs back the way it came. Best way that could have gone. Nanda called it a rare reverse chase, saying the lion's reaction probably came from the element of surprise. Speaking of big cats, people in Southwest Florida are arguing online over a strange animal caught on camera in public lands, and no one can seem to agree on what it is. Just back on March 14th, the South Florida Wildlands Association posted what they called a quote confusing photo to their Facebook page, hoping someone could figure it out. Looks a little bit wrong and a little bit right for a number of different species. Anyone want to venture a guess? They wrote. Hundreds of people jumped in, with theories ranging from Florida panther to bobcat, dog, raccoon. Others ditched real animals altogether and started bringing up things like shapeshifters and the chupacabra. One commenter, Christine McCrone, pointed out, it doesn't have the head shape or markings for a bobcat. Seems too dark to be a Florida panther. I want to say domestic cat, but also seems too large, judging by the grass height. Foundation first thought that it was a feral cat, but then ruled it out, saying predators in the area make that unlikely. This next clip was caught on a trail cam in the Appalachian Mountains and was posted by Elizabeth Maynard 98. She managed to capture something seriously unsettling moving across her property, and instead of just one creepy figure, there were actually two of them. At first, it's hard to tell exactly what you're seeing, but you can make out that whatever these things are, they're walking on all fours. The one in the front has something hanging from its mouth, possibly a dead animal. They disappear off camera for a moment, then they come back, this time upright on their hind legs. They look way more humanoid and just as creepy. No, thank you. I hate these things. Extremely thin, hairless, with glowing eyes. Nothing cute is described with that combination of words. Their walk is weirdly unnatural too. Look at all those tiny little steps and just how stiff they are. It's like they're not used to being on two legs. Maybe they're not even used to being in a humanoid form at all. Back in July of last year, the Instagram account Lower Florida Bucks shared a series of trail cam photos submitted by a man named Robert Lowell. According to the post, these images were taken on a property about 12 miles from the nearest town, and Lowell insists they're completely legit. What makes them so strange is, of course, the figure captured. It's not Robert. He has no idea who or what this is, but it appears on two separate cameras. The images are blurry, suggesting the figure was moving quickly, darting through the frame. From what can be seen, it looks human, but there's something off. For one, whoever or whatever this is doesn't seem to be wearing clothes. You can't make out any facial features aside from maybe the second image. You can kind of see a mouth and an eye, but there's just something off about this thing. It's the kind of image that immediately sets off alarms in your brain. Your eyes, they recognize that it's something humanoid, but your instincts tell you it's just not quite right. This next clip was shared by Elizabeth Green Girl 88 on Reddit with the heading, "Captured a spirit walking behind my husband on security camera." So take a look at this. People had a lot of questions and Elizabeth answered a bunch of them, giving more context to the video. The footage was captured on a security camera that sends alerts through the phone if there's movement. They live on farmland, which is where they were when this was captured. They don't smoke, they didn't have a fire going, so this being smoke is highly unlikely. Not that it even looks like smoke anyway. They don't have pets, no one else was there with them at the time, at least not that they know of, and the old man who used to live on the land passed away before Elizabeth and her husband moved in. So what do you all think this is? Is it a wild animal, a random person walking along their remote piece of property, a hoax, or could it really be something paranormal? Share your thoughts in the comments. Reddit user free_watasumi shared this next video with the heading, "Security systems at work went off last night. Manager checked outside cameras, no person outside." Now, it's hard to make out, but keep your eyes on the middle of the screen close to the top right under the timestamp. Something moves from left to right and then kind of just vanishes. Now, this wouldn't be all that interesting had it not been for the security system going off. There was enough movement happening that it detected something, and although it's really hard to make out what this thing is because it's so far away, it doesn't look to be solid. Like the staff member behind the camera says, it's transparent. It probably wasn't a person either, cause like the uploader said, their manager checked and there was nobody there. So, just what is this thing? And this next one will send a shiver up your spine. Reddit user Emily Sings3 shared these two images here. They were captured by her security camera inside her home, and it's not her or anyone else she knows, cause she lives alone. Emily writes, "I got a notification of motion on my home security camera last night at 1:32 a.m. and this is what I saw. I was in bed, still awake when my camera caught this. I didn't hear any sounds from my hallway and I live alone. I'm convinced my house is haunted. I just moved in last week. What can I do?" Now that is chilling. And it's inside your house too. Seeing something show up on your, doorbell camera, that's one thing. But in your home at night? Now, paranormal stuff aside, one commenter gave some very practical, sound advice. Basically told her to rule out there being a squatter hidden somewhere in the home before jumping to paranormal explanations, which I second. I mean, clearly there was someone or something there. I would have been out that door and on the phone with the cops immediately if I saw that on my home security camera. Whether I heard noises or not, doesn't matter. People are sneaky, be safe out there. And next we have this terrifying clip. Luckily this thing was outside this person's home though, so something is skulking by some bushes. It's spindly, pale, and has glowing eyes. Not a great start, and it only gets worse when it stands up. It's hard to judge its size because all we have are bushes and a little fence to compare it to, but the thing doesn't look short to me. It looks pretty tall, bigger than I'd ever want something that looks like this to be anyway, so just keep it away from me. In Senegal, a trail camera just snapped a photo of something researchers hadn't seen there in over 2 decades, a giant pangolin. The picture was taken in the middle of the night on March 8th of 2023, along a dry riverbed in Niokolo-Koba National Park. The camera was one of more than 200 set up by researchers from Panthera and Senegal's National Parks Directorate between February and May of 2023. The main goal was to monitor big carnivores, but the survey ended up recording 45 different mammal species. Out of all of them, this one sighting got the team's full attention. Researchers confirmed it was a giant pangolin, scientifically called Smutsia gigantea. These endangered creatures can weigh up to around 77 pounds. They live in burrows and are found in parts of Central and Western Africa. In Senegal, though, no one has seen one since 1999. After years of surveys turning up nothing, scientists feared they were just extinct in the area. That's why this single image is such a big deal. It's the first confirmed sighting in 24 years. But it doesn't mean the species is safe. Researchers say it's probably still very rare and under threat from the quote unprecedented scale of trafficking. The hope is that with more monitoring, they might spot one again, hopefully in daylight next time. All right, back to the paranormal stuff. It always sucks when you're just, trying to make it down a flight of stairs and have to run all the way back up because a shadow person shows up. Now, I have no information on this video aside from when it was captured. Appears to be on a security camera at an apartment building, though. Now, as freaky as it is, witnessing a semi-translucent shadow monster making its way toward you, notice what happens after the woman exits the frame. The shadow doesn't just fade away, like some cowardly little ghost. It follows her, and fast. Watch this part again. That's one angry shadow person, apparently. Did someone capture a sleep paralysis demon lurking in the corner of their bedroom? Did these parents snap a photo of their son playing with his imaginary friend? And hear what happened in Texas when a man in a devil mask showed up on a family's doorstep. These are terrifying real devil sightings caught on camera. Did someone capture a shadow person on camera lurking over their bed? This video comes from Carrie E on YouTube, who noticed something terrifying on her home smart camera. Clearly, there's this dark black shape standing in the corner of the room. And, at first I didn't really think much of this. I mean, it's not hard to put on some dark clothes and lurk in a corner, but then it moves, and that's when you notice just how unnatural this thing really is. It zips across the room so fast, and it's such a smooth, unnatural motion. This is clearly not a person. On top of that, watch how blurry it becomes. It doesn't look like a solid mass anymore. If you've ever had sleep paralysis and felt like something was standing over you or sitting on your chest and restricting your breathing, well, this video probably ain't gonna help you sleep any better, so sorry about that. Did you ever have an imaginary friend growing up? Do you have pleasant memories of said imaginary friend? Well, this next story may make you look back on your childhood a little differently. This photo here was shared online years ago. It looks pretty innocuous, two kids playing, but the thing is, there was only one youngster present at the time. At least that's what the parents thought. They were watching their son playing in the living room, saying he was talking with his imaginary friend Pauline. Dad snapped a picture, and when they looked back at it, they nearly screamed. Something else was clearly in the room, at least the camera picked something up. And the closer you look at this mysterious figure, the creepier it becomes. The eyes, the smile. Not only does it look unnatural, it has this air of aggression about it. Pretty creepy photo. So this happened back in January in Texas, just outside of Dallas. Two homeowners were left terrified after someone showed up at their house wearing a red satanic mask and holding a cardboard sign that said Revelation 21:15. If you know that Bible passage, it's all about the apocalypse, judgment day, that kind of thing. So the devil mask is bad enough, but it's really not the message you want showing up right on your front porch. The whole thing was caught on their doorbell camera. It happened around 8 p.m. on a Saturday. You could see the person dressed in all black standing there a few feet from the door, completely still. They ring the doorbell, wait a few seconds, then knock, and when no one answers, they just walk around the side of the house and stand there in the driveway, still holding the sign. The homeowners were not home at the time. They'd gone out to dinner, but they saw the footage later and they freaked out. "I'm scared," the homeowner told CBS. "I'm scared to leave the house. I'm scared to be at the house." She also said, "It's about the end times. It's about Judgment Day. I freaked out." Police looked into it and said the masked person hadn't been seen at any other homes in the area and technically didn't commit a crime. Still, they said they'd keep an eye on the neighborhood just in case. And a little message to viewers here. Probably not the best idea to knock on some random person's door wearing a devil mask in Texas. Yeah, I don't know about that. Anyway, just what kind of animal are we looking at here? According to the uploader, it wasn't an animal. At least, not one he'd ever seen. Reddit user Corrine James posted the image along with a description reading, "EMT friend saw this 2 nights ago, turning his ambulance around at the end of a rural road. It was swaying and its eyes were glowing without the headlights. This was in central Kentucky." Now, interesting thing about Kentucky, it's the home of the Montauk Monster, aka Goat Man. So, a terrifying part man, part goat hybrid with glowing red eyes. I don't know, am I drawing the wrong connections here? Am I crying? I don't know, but what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. All right, so this video comes from a TikToker named Anneli_RG. Her actual name is Mariana. She took the footage at her church in Mexico. According to her, she always felt a strange, unsettling vibe whenever she was there. Nothing specific she could point to, just a general sense that something wasn't right. So one day she decided to record during Mass to see if she could capture anything unusual on camera, and she did. When she reviewed the footage, she noticed someone or something that she doesn't remember seeing in person at all. It stands out immediately. In her description, she said, "It wasn't a human, and honestly, it's hard to disagree. The figure looks pale with dark, almost hollow eyes, almost like some lifeless mask. It's not just a case of bad camera quality either. Everyone else in the shot looks completely normal. So what's going on with this ghoulish looking figure?" What would you do if you were working overnight security and saw this person show up on your surveillance camera? I say person, but I mean, look at her, it looks more like a zombie to me. So, a school in Mexico, this security guard was on an overnight shift when he looked at the surveillance camera by the entrance of the building and saw this unsettling looking person staring up at the camera trying to get inside. The glowing eyes, the unusually long looking arms, this is not what I would want to see trying to break into my workplace in the middle of the night. Again, I'd think a zombie invasion was breaking out. This image was posted to Reddit by Dystopia321, who wrote, "This is a camera set up in the woods, set up to take photos when it senses movement. Main purpose is to take photos of deer and other wildlife. There were no people that could be in the woods at the time, and it had to have been moving to set off the camera. What is this?" Well, I can't say exactly what it is, but I can say it doesn't look good. A rake, a skinwalker, wendigo, golem. All possible identities mentioned in the comments, and I don't know, those seem like good guesses to me. What a horrifying looking creature. Could it be some extra tall, thin, pale person skulking through the forest alone in the middle of the night? Sure. But that's not really a comforting thought either, is it? What do you all think of this one? This one legitimately gave me chills, because it took me a few seconds staring at the image before I saw it, but when I did, yeah, just no thank you. Reddit user OrangeFood87 shared the picture saying that back in 2012, their roommate received the image from her boyfriend. He was working at a body shop after hours and snapped a photo of this totaled car that had just been brought into the shop. He was alone at the time and didn't see the eerie figure until he looked back at the photo. Apparently, he closed up early that night, and I can't say I blame him. This picture was taken at the South Pittsburgh Hospital by Reddit user JustOkayAtLife, who wrote, "Taken in the second-story shadow hall where they report a 7-foot-tall shadow figure. This was taken at the end of the night. There was one other guy with me, and he was in front of me to the left. He had the flashlight, so there's no way this shadow was either of ours. If you have a chance and you happen to be in Tennessee, I highly recommend visiting this place. Earlier in the night, I was walking down a dark hallway alone on the first floor, and from the left side of me, there was a doorway where I heard a hissing sound shoot out of one of the rooms, moving towards me. It was an incredible experience. Incredible experience, that's one way of putting it." Our final clip today comes from Saudi Arabia. YouTuber Adventures Jassim79 was doing what he does best, exploring a creepy abandoned place. This time he was walking through an old rundown house, and when he got to the roof, he caught something incredibly chilling on camera. As he passes by a clothesline, through a small opening between sheets, this ghoulish face with pure black eyes appears. Just as fast as it shows up though, it thankfully vanishes. Yeah, I'd be praying too if I saw that face poking out at me. Seeing as this is in Saudi Arabia, many viewers have commented that this could be more than just a ghost, but a jinn. Spirit-like beings from Muslim tradition that can be invisible, shapeshift, and sometimes exhibit a more classical kind of demonic behavior, tormenting people or in some cases, even possessing them. Genuine or not though, it's a pretty creepy video. Security footage from a supermarket in England shows a black shape floating down an aisle. before making a complete mess of the store. In a social security office, a brand new motion camera captures a strange black shape drifting around a room, and cameras caught a figure in period clothing slamming a door shut at Hampton Court Palace in England, leading to one of the most infamous and eerie ghost videos on the internet. These are mysterious figures captured on security cameras that no one can explain. Well, this is a pretty busy supermarket. Not sure what it's like during opening hours, but in the middle of the night, when no one's supposed to be in the store knocking things off shelves, there seems to be something in the store knocking things off shelves. And even before that happens, there's some odd stuff going on. There seems to be some sort of invisible force messing with the computer and POS. And then we see this very ominous black shape floating down an aisle. We see all kinds of stuff in this video. Fruits rolling along the floor, a mop bucket shift out of position, and this door to the walk-in freezer starts to violently shake. So this footage was captured at a store in Whaley Bridge, England. Weird stuff is known to happen there a lot, and it's freaked out the staff so much that when Halloween night rolled around, they decided to shut the place down early. They locked up around 9:30, an hour and a half earlier than normal, after a bunch of spooky things started going down. Basically, everything you've just seen had all been going on that day. Rumor is the place has been haunted for over 100 years. This next piece of security footage was captured at a social security building in 2020. It was uploaded to YouTube by Joshua Bragg, who's responsible for checking the motion cameras. But here we can clearly see this mysterious dark shape floating around a room. He insisted that whatever this thing is, it's not a bug, and that he's always had weird vibes about the building. Haunted kind of vibes. And in terms of the cameras, well, they were brand new, high grade, and the lenses were sealed. So the idea of a bug or something being trapped in one of them was, again, not a valid explanation according to the uploader, who also said he went and checked the camera for anything like that anyway. So I don't know, what was captured on this motion detector camera? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. This is a pretty famous image. I bet a lot of you have seen this still if you've ever typed in real ghost photos to Google Images. But do you know the story behind it? Well, back in the winter of 2003, something strange happened 3 days in a row at Hampton Court Palace in southwest London. Security kept getting called to deal with the same fire door that just wouldn't stay shut. Well, one day, the CCTV cameras caught the doors suddenly swinging wide open, like someone had slammed them, but there was nobody around to explain it. On day 2, it happened again, but this time the cameras picked up something else. A creepy figure in old-fashioned clothes flings the doors open before quickly slamming them shut again. Well then, day 3 rolls around. The doors fly open again, but the mystery figure doesn't make another appearance. Now, a visitor actually wrote in the palace's guest book that she thought she saw some sort of ghostly figure in the exact area on the same day that the cameras caught it. This grainy footage of the strange figure made headlines all over the world. News stations and papers from everywhere from Australia and India, well, they started talking about this thing, and of course the footage began circulating online, becoming one of the first creepy ghost videos in the early days of the internet. This video was posted to YouTube by House Junkie Podcast, who wrote in the description, "I got an alert on my phone from my Canary security webcam stating motion detected in living room. When I hit play, this is what I saw." So here we see these two very distinct semi-translucent shapes floating across the screen. Your first thought may be, well, it's just smoke, but I don't know. It doesn't really move like smoke. The shapes don't linger at all. They just float past and disappear. Also, I gotta say, they have pretty classical ghost-type shapes to them. So I have no context for this next clip. I just think it's cursed. So what the hell is this? One of those Fresno Nightcrawler things with the 2 legs and no head? Or is it just a pair of pants walking around at night on their own? Again, I don't know where this is filmed. I don't know who the original uploader is. It's just one of those clips you come across online that may have well just sprung up out of thin air, as far as you can tell. Adds to the creep factor, in my opinion, though. But if anyone knows where this clip comes from, let us know down in the comments. This clip was recorded by a security manager who was on duty at the Wingate Hotel in Illinois on September 14th of 2003. That night, guests had started calling the front desk to complain about loud screaming coming from room 209. According to the security guy, this wasn't the first time that room had caused problems. Over the years, there had been several reports of weird noises coming from it, so as the security guy, John, approaches the door, screams can clearly be heard. Take a listen. So he stands outside the door, totally dumbfounded, because as his boss tells him over the walkie, there's nobody checked into that room. Figuring there could be something pretty serious going on in the room, John is instructed to wait for the police, but he takes a look inside the room anyway. He cautiously enters, and what does he find? Well, the room was empty and completely silent, except for the fact that all the furniture had been turned upside down, the carpet was ripped up, and the shower was running. But there was something else that actually picked up on camera. Just after John had entered the room, this happens. So this is a weird one. This footage comes out of a park in Costa Rica. We see some sort of creepy looking four-legged creature crawling around while two dogs bark at it. It's not exactly clear what this thing is, and people in the comments have been tossing around all kinds of theories. Some said it looks like a shapeshifter. Another said, my first guess, a troll. My second guess has to be El Chupacabras. Someone else said it looked like something that crawled out of hell. It's hard to describe this thing. It almost moves like a spider though, which is not good. What do you think it is? Mysterious creature or a hoax? This CCTV footage was captured on January 5th of 2017 in India. So a couple dudes are snoozing, they're off in dreamland, but one of them is about to have the worst nightmare of his life, because it doesn't go away when he wakes up, at least not right away. So suddenly this dude's legs start raising into the air. I do not think this is a case of sleepwalking, especially when it only gets worse. This happens. So not only does this man start getting dragged off the bed, he's getting lifted into the air. Like, this man's lower back is off the bed completely. Of course, at this point, he wakes up in a complete panic, thrashing around to get whatever the hell this thing is away from him. And suddenly, he's released and just drops back down to the bed, trying to make some sort of sense about what just happened. This is a really good video. Hoax or not, this would not have been easy to fake if that even is the case. This next one is creepy, not so much for the CCTV footage itself, but for all the stories surrounding this building. So in 2023, a security camera at the Library Restaurant in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, picked up something weird. What looks like a translucent shape zipping past the lens right before the cops showed up to investigate. This place is relatively well known for its ghost stories, especially in the basement, but this was the first time the motion detectors inside the building had ever been triggered like this. The restaurant posted the clip online and said, last night for the very first time our motion detector alarms inside the building were set off by this camera motion caught on video in the dead of night outside the window. In the footage you can see a white blur shoot past the camera and then vanish almost instantly. Again, on its own, I wouldn't really give this one much second thought, but considering the place is known to be kinda haunted, definitely makes this more interesting. One of the co-owners said she's seen things fall off shelves before, and people who've eaten here have mentioned a figure known as the Lady in White, who some have said they've seen wandering the hallways. The building itself has been around for a long time. It started out as a home back in 1785, then it was a hotel by 1833, before it burned down in 1884, and then it was rebuilt. Perfect setting for some ghosts though. And finally we have the poltergeist. This eerie security footage was recorded at Deer Park, a 200-year-old school in Cork, Ireland. Here we see a number of strange things happening. A door at the end of the hallway slowly opens by itself before slamming shut with force. Moments later, a filing cabinet or possibly a locker starts shaking back and forth on its own. One of the locker doors swings open and all his kids' poor homework flies all over the place out of nowhere, and a nearby wet floor sign suddenly tips over. It's just an absolute mess. This thing, whatever it was not in a good mood. Footage of a large, broad-shouldered figure moving through the trees was captured right up close. A massive predator swims just beneath the surface, dragging a bloated cow carcass through the water. And on Navajo land in Arizona, a strange figure was caught on camera. Locals say it matches stories that go back generations. These are cryptids caught clearly on camera in 2025. Well, you wanted clear footage of a cryptid, here it is. It's not often we get supposed Sasquatch footage this clear and up close. Usually these videos are shot from a distance and the creature is almost impossible to make out. I know I say this almost every time I show a Bigfoot video, but understand that I sift through a lot of garbage and I just don't bother putting most of these videos on lists like this because these videos aren't meant to put you to sleep. Although if you use them for that, I'm not offended. Close your eyes, go back to bed. Is this video genuine though? I mean, how can I say for sure? I do like it, I'll say that. There's more going on here than a monkey suit from Party City. This thing looks to have some bulk to it. There's color variation in the fur. If it is a hoax, I think it's pretty well done. Well, this is a freaky piece of footage. Not only is there a massive dead cow floating through the water, there's something under it. Gonna guess that something was involved in the death of the cow. I mean, good lord, look at the size of this thing. There's a full-on dinosaur swimming in this river. Of course, this is a croc or a gator. I couldn't actually find where this video was filmed, but the thing is an absolute beast. I know, very insightful of me. Take a look at this strange photo. Picture was snapped on Navajo land between cornfields and Greasewood, Arizona. It's been making the rounds on social media lately. According to the person who shared it, her aunt snapped the picture at the end of a small canyon after hearing weird noises while tending livestock on her property. There's not much more info about it, other than claims that the creature was seen again a few days later. The family chose not to go after it. They figured it was best to just leave it alone. Wise. Apparently stories about creatures like this have been told in the area for generations though. What do you think of this one? Only explanation that I have outside of this being a genuine Sasquatch, of course, is a black bear. There are black bears in Arizona. I'm not sure if they frequent this specific area. If anyone from Arizona can enlighten me in the comments, that would be great. A video from Buenos Aires this week has gotten people talking about possible demons or something strange. Very strange. This short blurry clip that's been getting shared around quite a bit on social media, at least on the forums I check out, shows what looks like a street or garden in Argentina. Here we can see some sort of bizarre dark figure crawling on all fours toward the camera while a few dogs walk around in the background. The creature seems to have very long spindly limbs, but it's hard to see clearly because it's dark and the video quality isn't really the best. Local news says this happened in the town of Salvador, and people living there are reportedly scared of whatever it was. Some witnesses have called it demonic and say it has inhuman agility that lets it climb walls and jump between trees. A local firefighter who didn't want to give his name said that, quote, something was going on. Another witness added, he's something big. He doesn't walk on all fours, he walks backwards. He's disjointed, he comes apart, his head is upside down while his body moves in an impossible way. All of that said in Spanish. Of course, this series of photos were posted to Reddit a couple weeks back by SnakeTree1911, who wrote, I work as a land steward in the northeastern part of the US. Part of my job is reviewing images taken by our game cams. We recently pulled a cam from a fairly remote area, which hasn't been checked in a long time. These images caught my eye. None of the naturalists on our staff could ID this thing. I'm not sure if I believe in cryptids or whatever, but I don't know what this thing is. It's not a deer, it certainly isn't a bobcat, and if it's a black bear, it's the biggest one I've ever seen. I included a daytime photo so you can see that it's not just some weird shaped rock or whatever. I don't know, let me know what you think. And I will pose that same question to all you fine people watching. What do you think? Did a fisherman just capture footage of the real-life gill man? Apparently a guy was fishing near Barnegat Bay in eastern New Jersey when he saw something poke its head out of the water. He had no idea what he was looking at. The more he looked at it, the thing just kept rising and rising until the whole upper half of its body was out of the water, and it was clear that this was not your ordinary animal. I mean, yikes. How'd you like to be swimming in the water with this thing? I gotta say, this creature looks pretty convincing. Definitely gives me the ick, but there are a couple fun comments that I wanna mention as well. One person says, "This is BS. If anyone saw that, they'd run, not record for 3 minutes," which, you know, fair enough. I can see where they're coming from there, but someone else responded, "It's called a stare down. The person out of fear and the frog out of confusion. Hence the term scared stiff." Also a good point, but I really just love that they called this thing a frog. And also someone else commented, "This is what happens when people stop eating frog legs." People just love calling this guy a frog. I don't know what frogs you people are looking at, but anyway. This next clip was shared by Sunny Vader on YouTube. The footage was captured by campers in Clearwater County, Alberta last month. The uploader had been tearing down their camp when they spotted this large, dark figure lurking in the trees nearby. He managed to quietly capture the thing on camera before it made its way back into the woods. They probably thought it was a bear at first, but after zooming in on the thing with the camera, they probably immediately changed their mind. It seems to be standing upright. Not that bears can't do that, but they usually won't for very long. It looks to me like this is a massive, hairy ape man spying on a couple hikers in the woods. On March 21st, something strange was spotted floating low over the rooftops in Saladin, Iraq, and yes, there's video of it. So as you can see, this strange object has a very odd shape. It looks like you took a flying saucer and then made it vertical. It almost looks like Boba Fett's Slave One from Star Wars. It also looks like it has these long trailing tendrils like a jellyfish, not like any drone I've ever seen. The object drifted smoothly over the buildings and a local managed to capture it on camera. The clip quickly spread online, just another piece of video to add to the growing list of UFO sightings this year. People who saw it described it as otherworldly and eerily silent. Some think it might be high-tech military equipment, others think this may actually be proof of something not from this world. But what do you all think? Now, stepping away from frogmen, aliens, and Sasquatch for a moment, let's talk about some mysterious jellyfish that were spotted just a few months back. The video shows two types of jellyfish that no one's ever seen before. At least ones that haven't been documented by science. The footage comes from researchers at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. First up is this one here. A very bizarre looking creature. It's so hard to make sense of. It's just so different from anything we see day to day here on land. Almost looks like it belongs in space. As one of the researchers said while filming the thing though, "I've never seen one of those. Have you?" And then another researcher's like, "Nope." They also captured footage of this smaller jellyfish. NOAA scientists couldn't identify this one either. Both were found during a deep sea dive off the northeastern coast of the US near Newport, Rhode Island. We see so many supposed videos of Bigfoot, but barely ever any dogman videos. Well, that all changes today. This dashcam footage comes out of Bladensboro, North Carolina. A man drove up to his property late at night when he got the fright of his life. Some big hairy creature had been lurking just outside his home, but his headlights hit it and the thing scuttled off into the trees. Not in the most graceful manner, I must add. This dogman is rather dainty in its movements, does this kind of toddler hop as it moves away. It can't be too hard on Dogman though. He's not as used to being in the spotlight, always being outshined by the ever so famous Sasquatch. A massive creature slithers through the Amazon. In New Mexico, something humanoid but not quite human is caught on camera creeping around at night. Then there's the thing crawling across someone's backyard on all fours, pale, thin, and twitchy. These are more real mythical creatures caught on camera. This next clip is one of those "what the hell am I looking at" moments. It was filmed in Santa Fe, New Mexico sometime last summer, but that's about all we know. I really don't know how to explain what this thing is. Doesn't appear to be fully human, but I mean, maybe it is, I don't know. Now, New Mexico is no stranger to strange sightings. It's got a long history of chupacabra reports, the goat-sucking cryptid that's said to drain livestock. Sightings of these creatures pop up all across the Southwest, into Mexico, and even parts of South America. So naturally, people are wondering if this thing caught on camera could be a chupacabra. Others think it looks like a skinwalker caught mid-transformation. Whatever it is though, I can say for sure that I don't like it, and if I were living out there in Santa Fe and saw something like this slinking around, I'd be rethinking my zip code real fast. But what do you think? Real cryptid, elaborate hoax? Let us know down below. This next clip comes from deep in the Amazon rainforest, and if you're one of those people who roll their eyes at the idea of 50-foot snakes, this might give you second thoughts. Now, at first it looks like just another shot of something slithering through murky water, nothing too out of the ordinary, probably a big anaconda, right? But then the camera zooms out and you start to realize just how massive this thing really is. Some people say it could be a modern-day Titanoboa, a prehistoric snake that was said to grow over 40 feet long. Supposedly extinct for millions of years, but who really knows with a place like the Amazon? It's one of the most unexplored regions on Earth. If a monster-sized snake was going to survive anywhere without being found, this is definitely the place. Now, sure, this could be a trick of the camera. Maybe the angle makes the snake look bigger than it is, but when you see something that looks like it came straight out of the Jurassic period, moving that smoothly through a real jungle river, it's hard not to wonder what else might be out there. Sometimes it feels like we've just barely scratched the surface. How would you like to see this thing creeping through your backyard? In this video shared by TikTok user CryptTalker, a weird pale creature is caught crawling through someone's backyard in the middle of the night. It's moving on all fours and it looks way too thin to be a normal person. Its limbs are long and kind of jerky, and there's something really off about how it moves. A lot of people instantly compared it to the Rake, the creepy internet legend that's been floating around since the early 2000s, and this thing definitely has a similar vibe. The creature in the video doesn't really do much, just crawling along, but man, does it give me the creeps. Looks like it shouldn't exist. Too thin and lanky to be a person, but unlike any animal I've ever seen. Back in 2012, a trail cam on Whiteitman Hill in Wetzel County, West Virginia picked up something very strange. A woman named Kelly Morgan submitted photos from her brother's deer camera that seemed to show a pale ghost-like figure wandering through the woods at night. According to Morgan, there's an old local legend about a young bride who was killed on her wedding day and that her spirit is said to roam the woods. She said her aunt told her the story, but it's mostly passed around as hearsay. Still, digging into the area's ghost tales, Morgan found a disturbing version of the story. Around 1882, 3 men allegedly took a young girl to a remote spot near Whiteitman Hill, and after tormenting her, they hanged her. There is a small cemetery nearby that some think might be connected as well. The idea of a ghost bride fits into a much bigger pattern in folklore. Susan Dahl, co-author of Haunted Tales from the Holler, hadn't heard this exact story, but she did note how common ghost bride tales are, saying they are so common you could call them a bona fide subcategory. This has become a pretty famous image, right up there with the infamous Nessie photograph. This is supposedly photographic evidence of a creature called Champ that lives in Lake Champlain. There have been over 300 reported sightings of the creature over the years, but in 1977, amateur photographer Sandra Mansi spotted something sticking its head out of the water and snapped the now famous photo. Some describe Champ or Champy as a snake-like creature. Others say it's like an aquatic dinosaur, something like a plesiosaur. Champ has become a full-on local celebrity though. In Port Henry, New York, they built a giant statue of it. There's even a Champ Day festival every year. Businesses in the area, car washes, diners, gift shops, slap Champ on their logos, and Vermont's minor league baseball team is literally called the Lake Monsters, with Champ as the mascot. It's a modern day mythical creature, and people keep watching the lake, hoping to be the next to spot it. This next video comes out of Puerto Rico, captured on a hotel security camera. Take a look at this. That was kinda nuts. Definitely not a gust of wind. Something very clearly tugged at her hair. We just can't see what it was. Now, this hotel was built over one that had burnt down in 1986, and it's become kinda infamous for its paranormal activity. Guests and staff will say they hear disembodied voices and footsteps, or see weird shadows moving about, the usual ghostly flair. But this isn't just spooky, it's rude and incredibly annoying. Whoever this ghost is, they deserved to die in that fire, if that's how they go around behaving. This next photo comes from Reddit user Dan_Cukes, who writes, "My brothers and I went hammock backpacking in Pennsylvania last weekend. I was going through photos from the trip and started editing this one for an Instagram post. It wasn't long until I realized there was this incredibly human-like apparition slash figure behind the campfire smoke just watching us. We never saw anything the whole day and night we were there, and we were 5 miles or so deep in the woods with no one around. It was a mile or so away from a small overgrown trail, so we were confident we'd be left alone. We don't know what to think of this and are pretty shook up over it. This eerie image was posted online by Reddit user Druzy. Looking closely, you can see a pale face with its mouth wide open peering out the bottom of the window. Now, on its own, the image isn't all that amazing, but if the story attached to it is to be believed, it definitely makes for a creepy post. Druzy wrote, "I took this picture sometime in 2013. We'd always experienced things in this apartment. Footsteps, doors closing, lights on and off, blinds always falling off the window, but we never actually saw anything. I was on my way to work one day when I noticed the blinds in my room pressed against the window as if someone was spreading them apart. I snapped a picture to show my mom later, like, hey, look, the blinds were weird, like someone was pressing against them. Never been able to explain the face in the window though. There was nobody home except for my dog." This is a photograph of a beastly animal that was burnt alive by this group of brave men, the Hodag. This story comes out of Rhinelander, Wisconsin, a small town in the north of the state. It all started back in the 1890s when a local timber cruiser named Eugene Shepard came out saying that he'd come across this terrifying creature in the woods. According to his description, it had, quote, the head of a frog, the grinning face of a giant elephant, thick short legs set off by huge claws, the back of a dinosaur, and a long tail with spears at the end. Shepard claimed they had to use dynamite just to kill the beast. He'd even released a photo of the charred remains, calling it the, quote, fiercest, strangest, most frightening monster ever to set razor-sharp claws on the earth. In 1896, Shepard said that he captured another Hodag alive with help from a few bear wrestlers and a chloroform-soaked pole. He showed the thing off at the Oneida County Fair and at his own home, where he'd rigged it to move using wires just to scare people for fun. Yeah, the whole thing was a hoax. Shepard was kind of known as the town prankster, and the fun ended when scientists from the Smithsonian said they were coming to investigate. At that point, Shepard finally admitted he'd made the whole thing up. But by then, the Hodag had already become a local legend. And I just had to include this one. It was just too fun a story. So this farmer in India walked out onto his property to see this massive snake that had just finished swallowing one of his cows. Look at the giant bulge right in the middle of the snake's body. Instead of running away, the farmer actually grabbed a rope and lassoed the snake, just threw it right over the middle of his body like he was wrangling a steer. I don't know what kind of nerves that guy has, but if I were in his boots, I'd have quit farming on the spot. I would be halfway across the country before even thinking about coming back. The clip's been shared around a lot online, and people are still debating what kind of snake this was. Some say it might have been a green anaconda, which do get very big. Others think it was something even bigger though, maybe something not officially documented. Certainly looks like it to me, but thankfully I do not live in a country where there are massive poisonous snakes stalking the forests, so I'm not too familiar.